Prof. Jonathan Calof from Canada. Welcome once again.
Glad
as
to
you've
be
said,
back.
you are here now for about 20 years in a row running, so you probably know the changes in South Africa even better than we do, looking from the outside in. You're well known for competitive intelligence. Can you briefly tell us what is the trends going forward in competitive intelligence?
Well, in terms of the fact that I've been here for 20 plus years, I was here when you won the Rugby Cup in Johannesburg. I was there for it,
Really?
and I was just here when you won it the second time. So maybe I'm good luck for you guys. But I've been coming here for a long time. In terms of the trends in competitive intelligence, it is very interesting because we had a gathering of the competitive intelligence fellows in Washington this December when we're looking at more use of artificial intelligence and big data in CI. There's just so much more out there. We used to say you got to focus your intelligence topics. Now we're not saying that as much anymore. However, as big data and AI is getting in competitive intelligence, the big concern that we have right now is that human intelligence, relationships, information you gather from interviewing to understand what's going on is actually becoming more important. And the reason is that there is so much crap in big data these days, either because companies who want their products to look better are artificially inflating ratings, governments putting in false information, and the systems don't distinguish between the true information or, as Trump would say, the fake news. So the needs for human beings processing information and developing intelligence has never been greater in spite of what's going on with AI and big data. But as you go forward into the future, that's going to become very critical in terms of what we're doing.
If I use conceptually competitive intelligence, what would you say is the ultimate, if we have to formulate this, competitive intelligence is a function of market knowledge, knowledge management, business intelligence, strategic intelligence. What is your formula for that?
My starting point is that strategy, companies, government policy cannot succeed unless it matches the environment. So think of the domain as, we'll call it the strategy environment linkage, if you want to put it that way. So the question becomes, how do we better understand what's happening in the external environment in the time frame required for the decisions you're trying to make? And so if I'm a technology company, there's many of those growing in South Africa, and I'm starting an R&D program, research and development, it's going to be at least 5 years before it becomes commercialized. Well, what are customers going to want 5 years from now? Where are competitors going to be developing 5 years from now? Because when the product hits the market, it's got to have that sweet spot in order to make it work. If I've got a product that requires regulatory approvals, well, where's regulation going? I got to work with government. And so if you take a look at many of the major failures in industry and even in government policy, it's simply been because they don't understand where the environment is going. So competitive intelligence emerged as a discipline concerned with using a systematic process to develop the insights on that competitive environment. And it can be a long-term play, as it would be, as I just mentioned, in technology, and it can be short-term as well. We can do a lot of customer profiling. So what do customers not truly want, but who are the low-hanging fruits that you should be looking at? You got to ask your question about, is the market ready for certain technologies? Is the market ready for my product? A lot of people I work with will say the customers are stupid if they don't buy my product. I guess there's a lot of stupid customers out there.
Yeah, of course. And a last question, and afterwards, if you can just give us a brief summary of what you're going to do with the business school student body. I see a lot of competitive intelligence being done. I know certain industries that do that, but it seemingly seems to be still something out there. There's no champion driving that. How do you implement that in your decision making? Because it tends to, well, let's say, sort of a theoretical concept, because South Africa and its organizations, seemingly the government for that matter as well, don't implement well. So on which basis then do they take or make these decisions?
Well, I'm going to start off by giving you some academic research, and that might explain why we're having a problem. The research says when a mistake happens, when the company fails, they blame it on factors beyond their control. And when they succeed, they say it's because our management is brilliant. Can't have it both ways,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I don't understand the reluctance to formally put in infrastructure to understand the outside. And even at a business school level, we have a lot of programming to understand the inside, how to manage people, how to do accounting better. These are all very important courses, MIS. So the managers of today, the government officers, have grown up in a university environment where the focus has been on the inside. Let's call that your strengths and weaknesses. They have grown up in an analytics world, business intelligence, which dominantly has focused on understanding what's going on inside your company. That's been the focus. So it's not their fault that when we throw out a domain that says, no, you need a unit that focuses outside,
Yes.
they didn't see it within what they were doing in their environment. So it takes leadership to say, here's something that's important, let's formally introduce it into our system. Now you've got the insight field is growing, you've got business analytics, which definitely is growing, and so we're seeing a lot more of these activities at an organizational and at a government level. Because frankly, we keep going through this, the egos of management to believe that it's because of their brilliance.
Yeah.
We kind of have to beat that one up. The best managers will tell me they've got the intelligence process and they got gut feel. When they agree with each other, they have a decision. When they don't agree with each other, they have to investigate it. So again, the question becomes, why don't you just formally put the system in place? Now, in saying that, and this kind of ties in with what I'm going to be doing, today and tomorrow, every government and every company around the world I work with, whether it's small, medium, large, they've all got something in their minds in terms of the external environment. It's not that they're blind when it comes to customers and competitors and regulators, but they don't have the formal process. Let's say they're 80% of the way there. Similar to the open innovation field, where I'm spending a lot of time, CI says you're integrating the information from all over the place. It's not just one little unit in the company operating in secrecy, integrating it in from a broad group. Just as that's having problems in South Africa taking hold, it's the same thing with CI, because that integration, forward-looking, can't-do-it-all mindset is a really tough one for organizations to adapt. So what I'm doing in the next 2 days is, because this is the next generation of managers. For the first years, we're looking at what is competitive intelligence. I'm going to show a lot of videos, because a lot of the training I'm doing now, I videoed the people afterwards in terms of how it's impacted them. How do you put a unit into play? How are they using it? How is it helping them? What's required in intelligence? Let's get the first year's minds going. I got some articles I'm going to leave them with that are myths and facts, for example, of competitive intelligence. So I'll be using a lot of my personal experience as well in that. For the second years, because they got that last year, if you look at the dominant topics in intelligence, one is called early warning. So I need to know about it long before it happens so I can take effective action. And the other topic is profiles. There are people, organizations, companies that will affect my ability to succeed. How do I profile them to understand where they're coming from and how I can deal with them? For the second years, we'll do a case that looks at profiling, where a company got into major difficulty, and it says in the case, because they had no idea what the company was going to do, what customers were going to do, and they waited, and they waited, and they waited. And I'm going to give the students a chance to develop the profiles based on the same information that company would have had, but they're not from that industry. And I'm going to bet you the students do a better job than the company did, to show them how easy it is to put these things together, as long as you use the concepts. One of the concepts, for example, Porter's Four Corners, which looks at evaluating companies based on not what they say, but their capabilities, their drivers. What do they have to play with, their strategy, so that you truly understand where they're coming from.
Great stuff. Thank you so much, and we're looking forward to hosting you the next few days, and thank you for coming back, and like we say in Africa, ambagashre, go well.
I love coming here. I'm very happy to be back.
Thank you.